Today we're going to be going over how to create that Outrun Synthwave record that you just heard there in the beginning. By the way, I'm using my own custom Repro 5 presets as the foundation for the sound design in this production. All links to custom Repro and many other patch banks are in the link right down below. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's go ahead and get started from the ground up, and I'm going to explain to you the whole process of creating this from start to finish. So first, let's go ahead and lay down a kick drum. And then on that kick drum, what I did is I actually added a Gorilla Drive distortion pedal. And then this is like a transient shaper / further distortion pedal. Makes it real fat. And then finally an EQ, boosting some of the bass, killing a little bit of top end here. And here on the bus, I just put in a little bit of EQ as well. And this is just a clipper, which essentially just shaves off some of the peaks right there for the mix down. And then I just copied the kick down into an inaudible track that I turned into essentially just the sidechain trigger. Then I went ahead and added a rolling bassline sound using this pattern. The first plugin that I put is Super VHS, which is like a saturator. Then what I did is I just like to stack EQs until I get the tone just right, the way that I want, especially when it comes to merging it with the kick. So let's turn the kick on. Now we're going to do the sidechain. So there's a long sidechain, and then I put a little bit of short sidechain just to give it an extra duck right when the kick hits. Then I add the sends here. The sends essentially is we got a medium reverb, a long reverb, a little short plate reverb, and a delay, and then some stereo imager. So when I add the sends, it's just a little bit of the three reverbs layered on top of each other. Just to get a nice pump going. Okay, so next let's add some of the percussive drums real quick. So there's a snare. And then we just add some EQ. This is a transient shaper, just helps to kill off a little bit of that tail. And this is a final EQ to cut off a lot of that low end. Then we add the sends, which is just a bit of reverb and stereo spread. So together it sounds like this. Okay, then we are going to throw in a hi-hat. And it's got some filter automation through a portion of the track when it comes down. And we add a little bit of chorus. That's just a clipper to kill some of those peaks. And then really thin it out with a bunch of EQ. Add some sidechain. Put the sends back on. Then we add a tom here. Similar concept. Transient shaper. Reverb. A bit of gate. Thin it out with EQ. And some extra reverb. And then a crash. We add a little bit of phaser. This is a delay plugin for some extra delay and really thin it out. Keep the reverb sends on. You can hear it rings out. Boom. Now we got the little groove going. Next, we're going to add some pads, atmospheres, and key sounds. So right here, I added this Repro key sound. Nice epic key sound. And then from there, what I did is added some Super VHS as a saturator plugin with a bit of pitch drift and stacked on another Super VHS just for a little bit of a bit crushing static effect, very lightly mixed in. And then just a little bit of external low pass filter, some EQ, and then some light sidechain compression, and then add back in the sends. Now what I did here is every little part of the song has slightly different chords to match depending on what instruments you're playing. Like you can see there, it's more thin, there's more thick. Right here, it's even less. And I did some automation also. You can hear that the cutoff filter is brought down. Okay, same with the bass line, same concept. So in the start, it kind of fades in. Cool, now that we're there, let's bring in the pads to finish the atmospheres. So here I brought in this Repro 5 pad. Kind of a low-key pad sound that's a little bit atmospheric. And then what I did is I added some kind of higher notes and chords to it and did that same kind of cutoff automation. A little extra chorus. The chorus effect. Thin it out with EQ. Makes it real quiet and thin. Sidechain, which mainly comes in when the kick drops. Let's hear it with the chords. Add that sends with the reverb and delay in stereo. Let's hear it together in a section like this. And again, the notes change every time depending on the section. So like right here, we got different notes. And that cutoff modulation. And you'll see how that interplays with the other instruments. So here in various sections are brought in this riff instrument that again has that opening cutoff to it. Different patterns through different parts of the track. Okay, so on here I added some Juno 60 chorus, a little bit of extra delay, thin it out with EQ. It's just a little bit of gain automation, sidechain. Add the sends back in, reverb and delay. Let's hear how it sounds. And then different parts of the track, we got different ways. Like sometimes it acts more like a background. Okay, what I did here is I actually froze the instruments, which just as a way to basically lock them in place and save CPU as I bring in more instruments. So the next one that I brought in is another riff, which is kind of a square-based riff. And then here, just thin it out with EQ. Keep stacking them. I really thinned it out a lot because I felt like it was kind of interfering with the bass. And then add a little bit of sidechain. Add the sense. Let's hear how that sounds. Next, I brought in this big epic lead sound, which is like a PWM sound. It's got a little bit of built-in delay and EQ on it. Okay, then what I did is I added this This is an exciter. It just boosts some of the high end. It's like a saturator, but more bright, basically. Just very subtle. Sidechain. Thin it out with the EQ. Then when I add the sends and I throw it in together after this riff, sounds like this. Then you'll hear that other riff come in underneath. So there's another instrument that goes right there. Let's bring it in. Now this is sort of like a crystalline keyboard kind of sound with a lot of PWM and chorusing. Real nice and dreamy like that. Here I put in a little bit of Super VHS. It's like a saturator. Just very light. It's got a little bit of pitch drift on it too. Then thin it out for the mix with some EQ. Add that reverb delay sends. Okay, so when you hear it together with the riffs and everything, right? Now that's not it though, because there's a little bit of extra texture that I put on top of here. So here in the second half, I put in a little bit of this kind of retro bell sound, as I call it. Sounds almost like a horror movie sound. Like the kind of old school Prophet bells. A little bit of side chain and just some EQ to thin out. It's very quiet in the background. It's like an atmosphere. But it's really some extra reverb and delay kind of lets it ring out. So together here at the end sounds like this. But that's not it. There's one other layer of reverb that's got a little bit of more like bells sound to it. Again, for the second half is where I basically copied the same exact melody and octaved it up so that it kind of gives this layer. When you put a little bit of EQ and filter automation, this is an external filter here, and add the reverb. So all together now, it's going to sound like this. This kind of opens up as it goes. And the bells actually stay here for the next part. And I added them also for the intro. Right here, they play a more prominent role. So I also did some volume automation where you can see here the gain is a lot lower. Here it's higher. So it's like... Okay, so let's go ahead and put in the next sound that I have. This particular sound is this kind of lead sound like this. Kind of a fluttering PWM sound. So then here, just put in a little bit of EQ to thin it out. Here, I just use this to boost the gain a little bit. Add the sends back in. So after the hook, it kind of sounds like this. And that's where we're going to start bringing in some of our extra transition sounds and background sounds. So the main one here that I have is this impact sound. This one has a lot of filter FM to it, and it's got some built-in delay and fold back distortion and so forth into the patch, but it sounds really thick. So I cut it a lot with the EQ here. Put a little bit of sidechain so it kind of pumps with the drum very slightly just to let it through. Put back the reverb and delay. So the next background sound that I have here throughout different parts of this track is a resonant sweep. The velocity is also tied to the cutoff. So I get the kind of patterns that I want, up and down. So I cut off a lot of the bass and top end, put on some side chain, enable the sends. So now together sounds like this. But right here, there's actually one last sound that comes in, which kind of fills out the middle of the song to give it a little bit of a change up. And that's actually this sound right here, which is kind of an effect sound. And it's got some cutoff automation, the patterns like this. Right, so just play some sparse notes, but you'll hear it in the middle of that melody. So I cut off some of the bass here and add the sends. That's basically it. So then when you hear it, it's going to sound like this. Okay, so essentially that's where the song kind of, after the first hook area, it kind of starts going down in energy there. Next, what I did is I just bounced out the stems. Like I flattened all these out and turned them into audio stems so to get the song ready for mastering. I ended up keeping some of them because I wanted to edit some of the stuff. I just did a little bit of additional leveling, a little bit of EQ touch-ups and so forth. Even once I put on the master plugin, I kind of want to mess around with it a little bit after the fact just to get it really balanced out and tested back and forth on different devices like cell phones, speakers, etc. So basically the way I do it here is I put in a reference track, and then what it does is it compares my track to the reference track once I played the loudest part. There's various plugins like this, like Ozone, some other ones. The cool thing about this one and any that I recommend is you can change everything. So that's what I do is I just see, okay, where's it really off or where's it needing to sound a little bit better. So here I just boosted some of the low and some of the high, but then I inevitably mostly keep the mids. Like I put it back to almost flat because I want to keep my general balance of my track the way it originally was. It's got a little bit of transient control, like more or less. In terms of percussiveness for Synthwave, I don't want it punching like an EDM track, so I kind of turn it down a little bit. There's some stereo width editing and so forth, and then just a limiter. And that's really about it. So it's a very simple process. And then when you put it here, it's running right at around 10 LUFS or so, which is perfect for levels for Synthwave and should be your mastering target. So that's basically it. Please like, subscribe, check out the link below again for custom patch banks, and tune back in for more videos just like this, and have a great day.